Once we have received baptism by water and the Spirit, we've swung open that gate to the divine life of God who comes to dwell within us. God's Holy Spirit becomes the soul of our souls. The Holy Spirit comes coursing through our veins, giving us new life, making us as humanity fully alive. God continues to expand his Spirit within us. That's what happens our entire life. Once these gates are open, there's no way to measure the amount of grace that the Lord is pouring into our souls. But we do know that it is in proportion to the mission that he has given us to make disciples of all nations. That's his will. That's what he desires to do in us. And so that's what he does. And he gives us special ways to continue to increase that grace within us. Maybe the greatest one is the gift of confirmation, that next sacrament of initiation that allows us to be sealed with the gift of the Holy Spirit. And that's exactly what the bishop says as the successor of the apostles, places his hands over our heads, and he puts that oil of sealing, of that unction that goes over our head, and he breathes upon us and he says, be sealed with the gift of the Holy Spirit. It's not a new spirit, it's not a different spirit, it's the same Spirit, but it's an increase of the grace and the gifts that the Spirit wants to give to us. Not new, but an increase. And so when we receive that Spirit, there's a special grace that goes along with that increase, and there's a special purpose for the gift of confirmation. We may have heard many things about confirmation, but the real grace is this: to be strengthened to give witness to the mission and the life of Jesus Christ living within us. Now that we have the Holy Spirit living within us, we are the ones who continue the mission of Jesus Christ. We work in conjunction with the Holy Spirit. We are now the boots on the ground with the Holy Spirit, continuing that joint mission. And so that's the grace that we're given. And that might sound like a daunting mission. How do I evangelize? How do I go out into the world? Well, we've talked about some of that. Well, certainly the way that we do it is by the gift that God has given us. And he says this: Jesus says to his apostles who might be afraid of going out and evangelizing, especially when they're going to be persecuted for it. He says, do not be afraid of what you are to say when you're persecuted or when you're oppressed, when you're brought before those who don't agree with you or will persecute you. Do not be afraid of what you are to say. It is the Spirit of my Father who will be speaking through you. He promises that it's the Holy Spirit who is living in us, who will speak through us, will empower us, will give the grace that we need to be able to do the mission that is entrusted to us. Y'all, let's not be afraid. Let's understand that there's no measure of the immensity of the grace that the Lord pours through us once the gates are open. Now we receive confirmation. We're being equipped for the mission that we're asked and we're called to live. It's just left for us to put ourselves in situations where we can bring good news to the world and make good news for those who are waiting for the words of hope.